We are delighted to receive the good wishes and blessings from our esteemed patron of the British Carnatic Choir, Sangeeta Kalaniti, Guru Shri Neyveli Santana Gopalan.
Namaste. Saint Thyagaraja lived a life of simplicity and high thinking. Like Sri Rama, he had all the great qualities as a human being. Celebrating Thyagaraja is not only a festivity involving nectarine music, but also a royal opportunity for us to introspect as to how to take our lives forward to divine heights. Birmingham Thyagaraja Festival Committee is stepping into its ninth year of festivity. May we drench ourselves in the nine aesthetical bhavas, the Navarasas, evoked in Tyagaraja's compositions, making the fullest use of this year's festival. My hearty wishes for a stupendous success of this festival. Hail to Tyagaraja and Birmingham Thyagaraja Festival. Thank you.
Namaste, I'm Anjali, 8 years old. Today I will be explaining the meaning of Endaro Mahanubhavalu, Kriti composed by Sri Tyagaraja, who is one of the Trinity of Carnatic music. It is one among the Pancharatna Kritis of Tyagaraja. Endaro Mahanubhavalu, Andirki Vandanamulu. Salutations to all those great men in this world. Those men will feel the moon like beautiful form of God in their hearts and will be enlightened about it. Those who worship you is found of chorus singing. They control their mind and worship you, who is as beautiful as Manmata. They submit their hearts at our feet. Oh, the protector of people, they sing your praise with true devotion, and they have good knowledge of Swara, Laya and Raga. They wear garlands and made of gems that represent the quality of Hari and mercy. They see the whole world with love and affection. They are so happy to see the beautiful gate of the God every day. They are happy about it. Brahmanas enjoy the Brahmanda Swarupa of God always. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all, and namaskarams. Welcome to the panel discussion. I really appreciate all of you being here today. Thank you for your valuable time. Dear audience, we have our distinguished panelists here today who bring in their unique perspectives that help us to understand better about the topic, reflections on the beauty of Indian ragas. Music is a universal language, and we humans, we essentially respond to both music and rhythm, irrespective of the form and genre of music. And it's not just limited to we humans, but scientific evidence also proves that even plants and animals respond to music. There is a saying in Sanskrit, Ranjayati iti ragaha, which means that which colors the mind is a raga. Indian music, right from the Vedic period, has a great history of oral teaching and has a very structured and sophisticated pattern or blend of melody and rhythm, and further uses a frame of raga to communicate a gamut of emotions. Dear panelists, I would now like to request each of you to briefly introduce yourselves. Thank you.
Namaskaram. My name is Balu Ruguraman. I am based out here in London, in UK here. I have been the violin teacher at the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, the Bhavan Center here, and I finished 25 years at the Bhavan Center this year. I'm very happy to be a part of this discussion, and thank you, Chitraji, for including me today.
It's a pleasure.
Good evening. My humble pranams to all my fellow panelists as well as all the listeners who have joined in this meeting. So I am Dr. Lakshmi Balraj from India, and I'm a oral physician who is currently heading the research wing of Indian Dental Association Head Office, Mumbai. I don few other caps, including being a doctoral researcher at Maastricht University, Netherlands. And I'm also a visiting consultant for a few hospitals here in Bombay and Bangalore. As far as my musical expertise is concerned, I have been formally trained in Carnatic, Hindustani music, and Bharatnatyam. And I'm a PG diploma in Hindustani music from KLE University, Belgaum. And I have also been teaching as a visiting faculty the fundamental theory of music and practice at Manipal University. So I'm really honored yet humbled to be a part of this discussion today. Thank you, Chitraj and team, for onboarding me as a panelist. I look forward to adding value to this discussion.
Thank you, Lakshmi. It's a pleasure to have you as a panelist.
Hello, I'm Sujata Murthy, and I am the Executive Vice President of Music in Media and Artist Relations at Universal Music. I'm based in Los Angeles, but I was born in Uti, and I'm very honored to be part of this panel.
Thank you, Sujata. Lovely to have you on board.
Namaskaram to all. I am Palakkad Ram Prasad, vocalist, Carnatic music. I'm eagerly looking forward to this discussion. I'm pretty sure that I have lots to learn, and I'm really happy to be a part of this panel. Thank you.
Thank you all. It's a great honor to have you all as our esteemed panelists for the discussion today. To kick off this discussion, today we are here to explore on the reflections of the beauty of Indian raga. So there are different ways that one can approach from a holistic side, from a spiritual side, from from the impact of Indian ragas from a global perspective, from the manodharmic aspect and the rasanubhava aspect, for the Indian classical ragas. So basically, we want to keep this discussion, lively and interactive. That's the purpose, and of course, a great learning and a lot of positive takeaways for our audience at the end of the day. So, Dr. Ramprasad, if I may start the first question, the manodharmam in Carnatic music does have, it does create the creative or imaginary aspect of the raga in the truest sense, right? And this depends on the artist, and it does pose a challenge on each of them to bring in the best of their creativity. And I'm sure it is not going to happen in just a single day. It's a matter of practice over the years. So my question to you is, as a senior Carnatic vocalist and steeped with a rich lineage, cultural lineage, I want to understand the importance of the improvisations, particularly the Neraval and the Swara Kalpana. Now, using both the raga and the rhythm, and in all the compositions, and the stages where they can be used to reflect and express the raga bhava. What is the most practical approach to reflect the melodic colors and contours of the raga in a composition per se?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. There are several ways in which I can probably try to answer your question. So I want to keep it like a bit succinct. With respect to the topic in hand, if you're looking at manodharma specifically from the lens of handling neravals and swarams for specific songs, the most important aspect of any kind of manodharma is to bring the emotive aspect of the ragam, and in terms of neraval, where you also have the lyrical part to it, blend and intersperse the lyrical aspect along with the raga bhava, right? So it's one thing to just keep on adding turns after turns in a neraval or a swaram, but you can just keep on doing that. But if you really want to add value, the most important thing is how you are able to bring the rasa, the raghanubhava of that specific ragam. For instance, let's take a specific example. Is there any time limit to it, or are we going like in a brief kind?
Not at all. Not at all. Okay. Please
right.
Take your time. Yes.
All right. So let's take a simple example. I'll just take one small line from Kavava, Barali. பழனி வளர் கருணை மழையேவா பழனி வளர் கருணை மழையேவா. Let's say this is the line that I'm going to do Nerabalan, right? Now, we know that Varali by itself has a natural tone and a natural anubhava to it, right? But still, I can try to improvise by bringing different facets of the ragam interspersed with the lyrical beauty. So the line says, Parani Valar Karunai Malayeva. So it basically invokes Lord Muruga, right? So I can start off a Neraval which actually requests Muruga to come, right? Something like பழனி வளர் கருணை மழையேவா பழனி வளர் கருணை மழையேவா பழனி வளர் கருணை. So it is more of like a request, right? On the other end of the spectrum, I can take liberties with Muruga, right? And say that, you know what, as a friend or as someone who is very close to me, I'm asking you to come. Why don't you come? Right? So I can probably take this to this level. பழனி வள கருணை மழையேவா பழனி வள கருணை மழையேவா பழனி வள கருணை மழையேவா பழனி வள. Again, same Varali, same line, right? We are not going out of Varali, but at the same time, it is possible for us to bring the various aspects of Varali. The first one was like more a requesting kind, which was like more a ranchakam kind. The other one was which is like more assertive. I won't say authoritative, but it's pretty assertive, right? It's the same line, same song, same ragam. Just nothing changes. It's just the emotion that changes. So the challenge for any artist, I would say, especially in a Neraval, is to ensure the words, the syllables follow their parameters in the talam. The second thing is, am I doing justice by by creating an exponential part of this line, adhering to the framework of the ragam, but at the same time trying to bring the feel of the ragam? So I just gave you two ends of the spectrum. We can be anywhere in between, and we can also mix and match. Like one time could be Parani Valar Karunai Mazhayeva Parani. So the Parani Valar could be like a bit sober, and the Karunai Mazhayeva could be like fierce. So I mean, you have like different combinations here, right? So it's up to the artist to actually explore the various facets of it. So that probably explains why it is perhaps harder to improvise on a specific line, but at the same time be captivating enough to give different varieties in terms of raganubhava, in terms of the lyrical beauty, and in terms of adhering to the talam. So
Perfectly explained. And I think what you, in a sense, what you've also mentioned is that the structure, without altering the structure, there is a possibility of blending, you know, with the rhythmic aspect and also without compromising on the lyrics. So even irrespective of whatever rhythm that you use later on the Neraval part, you are not, the lyrics that we sing does make sense. Am I right, Dr. Ramprasad?
totally. In fact, you brought in a very beautiful point. For example, I cannot sing Parani. It's Parani, right? So I have to ensure that each of the syllables in the words are intact. So probably I just have the cushion to expand on that ni because it's Parani Valar Karunai. And probably I have the cushion to expand on that Karunai because after Karunai I have some space. But I cannot say Parani Valar Karunai. I mean, I can do it, but it doesn't make sense. So, I mean, in terms of what you said with respect to adhering to the grammar of it, totally right. So it's a challenge, but it's a great challenge for artists to keep working on and trying, you know, get better at it.
Beautifully explained, Dr. Ramprasad. Thank you so much. I do have another question, but I thought let me go to the next panelist and then I'll come back to you a little later in the discussion. I know you quite well now through your mother, and I understand that your parents have hosted some of the foremost musicians and stalwarts, and you've had the opportunity to listen to them, watch them perform at very close quarters. I'm eager to know how you have personally experienced the magical effects of Indian ragas through watching several performances during your growing up years, and how it has changed your perception of Indian music over the years through these Indian ragas.
So I was very fortunate to grow up in a household that had Indian music always. When my parents moved to the US, they brought the culture with them. They didn't want to lose the music just because, there wasn't anything here. So they actually started bringing musicians here, and they felt with the same, all the other immigrants and the families that were here, they wanted to make sure that they brought, great music from India and kept the tradition going. So we had, Lal Gudi in our house. We had El Subramaniam in our house. I mean, just, Ravi Shankar, just so many people over the years, from musicians, from dancers, just throughout the years, always having music and Indian culture in our home. And then they brought it to a wider audience. My mom would promote concerts in Los Angeles, now in Houston, always bringing music and exposing the audience, not just Indian, but American audiences, to the greatness of our culture and our music. So I think that music became a fabric of my life growing up, even now. So I'm blessed with the fact that I did have that much music in my life and continue to do so.
Right. And what is that one particular raga over the years that has been very close to you? Or when you think about Indian classical music or Indian raga, any raga for that matter, what is that rings your bell? What is that reminds you of your Indian traditions, your Indian roots?
Well, curiously enough, I think my aunt was on the internet and found one of my grandmother's compositions sung by Shankar Mahadevan. So that was just because of the beauty of the internet. My aunt, Kala Vishwanathan, lives in Toronto, and Shankar Mahadevan was doing this on a program in India. And my grandmother, Indra Natation, was a prolific songwriter. She wrote thousands of songs and actually published a book of her songs as well. So I would have to say anything of my grandmother's.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing. Sri Balu Raguraman. Namaskaram, Balu. It is lovely to meet you again on a virtual platform. I hope to see you in person very soon. As one of our most renowned and established violinists of our country in the UK, we know that creativity cannot be predefined, right? Every raga has a structure. It is the responsibility of every musician to bring the raga and the rasa in sync to appeal to the listeners, right? What was your experience specifically with the rasa aspect with your gurus during the actual teaching of the ragas and trying to express the rasa? Did they talk specifically about the rasa during your training years when you were taught the ragas?
Few did address the point of rasas and the essence of the ragas that we play. Mainly rasas and essence mean the same. To come to a stage where you understand, enjoy rasa and essence, it takes a good, I think, 5-6 years of learning in music before you can actually touch the word rasa and essence. I thank Shri Dr. Ram Prasad to give me a lead where I can talk as a violinist now. I had the vocal point of view. And I think for an instrumentalist to learn into rasas, any instrumentalist, a vainika or a violinist, need to have a good grip of their gamakams before they actually touch the essence of the ragas that they would like to demonstrate skillfully. And gamakams play a major role in giving out the actual rasas of each ragas, each and every ragas, or the jiva prayogams, jiva swaras, and gamakams are the primary source of base notes to start producing this essence, I should say. Where, for example, if you take up, let us say, Shankarabharana, how much of the gamakams play a role? Let me just try to show you something.
Mhm.
I'll briefly play a phrase without much gamakams and just keeping the correct swarams of Shankarabharanam in mind.
Yeah.
And it could be grammatically correct, but you might not feel the full essence of Shankarabharanam in it.
Right. Please.
So these were notes of Shankarabharanam, but was it Shankarabharanam? It was grammatically correct. The notes were there, the Chatushutrushabham, Antaragandharam, they were all there. But how would you get the life into it and see that, yes, this is Shankarabharanam? So, there we had a bit of gamakams, change in speed of the swarams that you play, a bit of dynamics where you soften where you need to soften down, where you need to be bolder, where you can highlight like a Gandharam is a very dominant note for Shankarabharanam. You can be louder on the gas. And when you give a flat Madhyamam, you can be softened down a little and wait maybe for the audience, for the listener to come out with his own next phrase even before you play it. This could lead to this could lead to that. So rasas and raga rasams, I think, is a journey. I mean, as I said in the beginning, if we don't start off learning raga rasams, we just start off learning a few compositions. And over the time, when you start learning compositions, like at least a minimum of 6 to 7 kritis in each ragam, Shankarabharanam has plenty of songs in it. And every ragam you should learn about 7 to 8 compositions, as many possible. And each compositions would give you your own ideas of presenting these ragas. And to establish where you can give the prayogams of these songs in the ragams, which goes straight into the minds of the listener that, yes, this is the song I know, this is the ragam it is. And you give shades of these songs, shades of sangatis of these songs. And to have asked this one length, I would say that not one guru really gives you all these essences beat in all these ragams. You learn from a few gurus, you hear to the hundreds of musicians, you hear to decades of music to develop the skill of raga essence. And it is not a small topic that you pick up and work on it for 10 days and say, I learned the raga rasa of this ragam. You listen to the musicians who have sung it in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. Suddenly you listen to you perform for 20 years, 15 years, and suddenly you listen to someone like Madurai Somu Shamanga Priya. Wow, this looks completely different. You have not heard this. Been known for the presentation of these ragams. Listening develops the skill in you to present ragams, and the more you listen, the more you get to present your ragam better. Is what I feel, and the journey continues.
Such a beautiful explanation, Balu. Thank you so much. And you've clearly demonstrated that a small change in a note in a specific ragam can alter the potentially the mood of the listener,
Feel,
right? And
the feel and the emotion of the ragam.
yeah, the intonations
The feel
are.
and the emotion of the ragam.
Yes, that's right. Thank you so much. We will now try to focus or approach the holistic aspect of ragas. My question to Dr. Lakshmi Balraj, personally, this is my favorite aspect of music that I'm still learning over the years, in the recent years particularly. We all know that the Indian ragas have got a lot of healing properties associated with that. And this is not just started with the Indian ragas, but it dates back to even the ancient Greeks. They were there. They had actually used to heal a whole array of ailments through the therapeutic properties of the music as such. Our Hindu philosophy gives us an insight into the feeling of the nature of music and how deeply the human spirit affects and is affected by the outcome of a performance. So when they listen to a particular raga as such. What's been your personal experience? I know you've been doing a lot of research and you've been talking about the effects of ragas, especially their healing properties on different settings. So I'm eager to know what has been your personal experience on the effects of using Indian ragas as part of your research projects.
One of the things that really makes us awestruck about the Indian music is that it really stands apart as far as rest of the music around the world is concerned, because it is highly deep rooted. It is literally woven into a fabric of mythology, science, literature, religion, philosophy, and everything. The very fact when we consider that the entire universe, Nada Brahma itself, is sound, right? And this sound is something that literally a musician connects with in order to attain the final divinity. So when we say that the Indian music has originated, it has never originated for a luxury class or for any sensual pleasures or anything of that matter, but it has evolved in order, or it has emerged in order to answer or seek certain questions deep within for a deeper embodiment and self-contemplation. So that's the biggest beauty of Indian music, which is very much deeply rooted into the cultures, and which has even gotten a term like Nadopasana, wherein a musician can really connect himself directly to the higher divine or the consciousness by using or harnessing the tool of music with the universal power of music. As far as the healing properties of music is concerned, when we look into a lot of historical treatises also, you look very clearly into the prescriptions about the time theory, wherein one certain kind of a raga needs to be performed or sung at one particular time of the day. So it has been so well thought that the music that is being performed is always in sync with the nature. And when something is always in sync with the nature, we cannot even think of any disease, to come in the first place when a person acts or behaves in tune with the nature. So be it any kind of raga, the kind of the section of the day that has been assigned in order to heighten its effects on the body, mind, and soul, or to bring the best beauty of the raga. And also the seasonal variations, wherein we need to sing one particular raga at one particular season. So all these kind of prescriptions that's been maintained in our historical treatises has been very well thought of, and the musicians have been following them with a real amount of discipline and diligence. As far as the ragas are concerned, yes, a lot of ragas do impart healing properties when it is being adhered to, the certain guidelines and prescriptions that is maintained or mentioned by the music connoisseurs for that matter. On a personal level, I have done few experiments. So being an oral physician, I just would like to share a very short experiment which we did. I was being posted in the pediatric department, and we know how the children really they weary of dental procedures. So they just come inside a dental clinic, and then their anxiety is heightened, and that itself sets in a mode for them to be a little anxious and uncooperative towards a lot of patients. So a lot of procedures for that matter. So what we try to do is, we in a small cohort of patients, children between the age of 5 to 8 years, as soon as they came into the clinic, we played soft instrumental Carnatic music. So here we ensured that it was devoid of any lyrics, so that there is no distraction. And at the same time, the very soft instrumental Carnatic raga system, it imparted a sort of smoothing the nerves effect, on the children. And we observed that these children who were subjected to this kind of an environment, they appear to be more cooperative for a lot of procedures. And in the first place, they were pretty much receptive and open to, following the instructions by the oral physician or the nurse, dental nurse for that matter. And when we checked this with another set of a cohort who were not exposed to this environment of calming effect of instrumental Carnatic music, they always appeared with that kind of an apprehension, anxiety, and overall it resulted in poor outcome of the dental treatment which was being given to them. So this has been my personal experience, which was done in a very small cohort, and I really want to expand this kind of research. But other than that, the healing effect of ragas is very clearly mentioned by the National Center for Brain Research. It's done in India as well in a institute in Haryana, wherein they have tried to understand how these ragas they have given a sort of healing effect on ADHD, dementia, attentive disorders, and also how it has helped in a lot of treatment cases of insomnia. So there is a lot of studies still happening, and I personally have vested interest in advancing research in this area to really showcase the world that the Carnatic music, the ragas, they do have healing properties which can go a very long way as far as health sciences is concerned.
That's amazing, Lakshmi. Thank you so much for sharing such valuable insights. I'm sure, the topic as such, a reflection of Indian ragas, is a very exhaustive one, and it is very difficult to fit in within the given time frame, and also to equally justify, in a good way on the topic as such. But I'm blessed, I'm fortunate that we have, panelists who are from different disciplines. Again, within the realm of music, and can approach the same topic and share their perspectives. Oh, thank you really so much. And coming back to Dr. Ram Prasad, as a teacher, I'm eager to know, and for the benefit of our audience, what is the right age to start focusing on the Manodharma? Can one just start with improvisation with just the scales of a raga, which means the arohanam and avarohanam of the raga? How does it begin, and how soon should it begin? Kindly share your insights on this.
So the way I look at it may not be practical in these times. I'm being very honest about it. I'm extremely selective about the ones that I teach, and I'm selective about those students who teach others too. So I would like to incorporate as much as possible of what was learned in Manodharma, what was learned during our Gurukula Vasa system, whether it be it Manodharma or whatever it is. I mean, I just try to replicate as many aspects as possible. I mean, so some of the aspects that I think of may not be practical. So I would like the listeners and the panelists to take whatever I say with a heap of salt, right? Now, coming to, forget Manodharma. I mean, the aspect of learning from a guru, it is not just music, right? You just imbibe values from your guru. It starts from there. So it's more about the life lessons and the life values that you taken from your guru. As far as age is concerned, it depends. It depends. Obviously, you have an advantage if you come from a musical family, but it just gets you only so far, right? It just gives you a head start at best. Of course, there are also exceptions to it on both sides. You have so many families which have music in them, but the children don't take it up. And you have, I teach so many students who are concert performance right now. I mean, like they have no family background on either sides. Just take like 3 or 4 generations. So fundamentally, it just boils down to that individual, like how much of rigor they are willing to put themselves into to learn this art, right? So that is the first thing. As far as age is concerned, yeah, if you're in a family, you have the natural advantage. So obviously, you pick up a lot of things which you otherwise wouldn't pick up if you did not have that background,
Yeah.
right? So, for example, I didn't have any formal training of Sarali Varsi, Janta Varsi, or whatever, but I have recordings of myself singing like small, they were, I mean, small Divyanama Kirtanas when I was like two and a half, right? I mean,
Mm.
forget how I sang, but I sang, right? So the point is, yeah, my father taught me. So by the time I was like 4 or 5, I knew like about 20, 25 songs. So is it possible that I'm able to teach my daughters that? No, my daughters are like, I mean, when my daughters were like 4 or 5, they did not, right? They are still from the same family. I mean, like I was a concert performer. I mean, they had every background that I had, and probably even more. So there is no one way of approaching this.
Mhm.
At the end of it, there is a certain, I mean, I'm just going to be like a bit practical here. Until certain age, children listen to you, right? So until that time, it's the parents who decide uh, what the kids have to learn, not what age they have to learn.
Mm.
Beyond an age, I mean, parents, they reserve their respect. So
Yeah.
uh, that's a practical aspect of it. So 3, yeah, great. 30, yeah, great. 80, sure. So I don't see there is like a one size, fits all. It just happens in different sizes, different ages, different. See, it's all a question of how much you can absorb as parents and as students. That is
True.
Manodharmam again. I have a different viewpoint on this. So some people say that Manodharmam has to be like very organic, so it has to come by itself, and you cannot. No, I don't believe in that. No, it's to give you some parallels. Let's say a kid in 6th grade or 8th grade is able to write an essay of his or her own, right?
Mm.
So does it mean that he or she doesn't go through memorizing certain grammars? No, she or he does, right? So in fact, the organic way of doing it is probably you start memorizing a few lines from certain essays before you start writing your own, right?
True.
So that gives you a rubric. So you have to have the system in place so that you don't just go haywire, right? So that way, even for Manodharmam, the way I teach my kids and the way I learned was also this. For example, I teach them a set of swarams to learn the way they would learn a song, right?
Okay.
And then I will change one part of it. For example, I mean, I just sing like 2 avartanam or 1 avartanam sort da ni da da ni da da ba ma ba da da ba 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 ma ga ma da ba ma ga re za ni za re ga ma ba ma da da. Let's say this is what I'll just fix the first part. Da ni da da ni da da ba 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 ma ga ma da da. So fill the next half by yourself.
Mm.
So it cannot be like so off. I mean, they cannot sing like da ni da da ni da da ba 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 ma ga ma ba da sa ri ga ni za. I mean, this doesn't gel.
Yeah.
So obviously they have to have some connect from the prefix or from the suffix. The same way with Nadaval, the same way with ragams. Because if you just say that, okay, like the way they show in movies, right? Like the practice and this manodharma that they show in movies, as if they use the tambura and everything comes to that doesn't happen. It's like pretty hard work.
Mm.
Uh, I mean, each and every line takes like about hours of practice. Each note, I mean, I get stuck with one note for like months together.
Mm.
That's right. So I mean, we have to take that thing off of our heads when they show it in movies. The way it comes naturally to them, it doesn't come, right? You have to
Mm.
work I mean, you really have to work hard, right? And there is a process to it. So
Mm.
it is a systematic way in which you learn. And until the guru, I mean, it depends on the guru also. Until the guru has sufficient confidence that he or she, as a student, is able to incorporate the best of whatever he or she feels from other genres or from other gurus, it
Mm.
is important. It is quite important that you stick to a certain style, right? That the
Mm.
guru prescribes
Mm.
and follow exactly what the guru says. So ultimately, this is a faith-based system. Okay, I believe in that, and it is important that you be in a specific mood as what the guru prescribes
Mm.
for a certain period of time. That certain period could be like 3 years into the training, or it could be 30 years into the training, or it could even be 300 years into the training. So when you choose a guru, be prepared to have complete faith in whatever the guru says. So if it is 3 years, great. If it is 3 months, greater, right? If it is three
Mm.
minutes, great. I mean, like, but I mean, you cannot fix a time on what works the best for you to shoot off for your manodharma. It all depends on even like even within my students, several students have several strengths and several limitations. So it fundamentally boils down to how the guru is able to perceive the positives and the shortcomings of each student. That guru is comfortable in letting that student explore the manodharma aspect by himself or herself.
That's so beautifully put. I think the underlying thing is to find the right guru and to be blessed to get the right guru, to be guided
And
well.
blessed to have the right students who will have the complete faith in the guru. Both
Absolutely. It
ways.
works two ways, isn't it? Always. Yeah. Thank you so much. Balu, my next question to you is more or less on the same lines. As a teacher, when you teach your students a specific raga, what would you say about the rasa in that particular raga? Or how would you rather position the raga for that, the rasa for that raga during whilst teaching them? I know it depends on the perception of the every artist as such, but as a teacher, how do you think you would approach when you share this or teach or train your students?
I present my ragas. I first of all I play the ragams and make the student to listen to the gist of the ragam initially when they learn the ragams.
Mm,
After which I take out small phrases from different various compositions and say that this is one of the good prayogams for, let us say, Shankaravarnam.
mm,
This comes from this kirtanam. This is a part of the Varnam, and this is a part. This is a special occurrence in the Atatala Varnam of Shankaravarnam. You can use
mm,
this phrase to link the two octaves. This could be used as a rasa
yeah.
input in the raga.
Mm,
And you sit with them and make them listen to the vast compositions and that are there, and the raga presentations by various artists.
mm,
Maybe there are we sometimes note down the important jiva programs which are sung by all the artists.
mm,
This is one program, sort of a print, strong imprint of this ragam. This is sung by everyone, so this establishes Shankaravarnam.
mm,
This could be sung. This should be sung, and slowly unfortunately we have a lot of our demands here in this country are different.
sure.
In India and other places, maybe not sure about other places, but in India we were naturally left for us to decide the rasas, search for these rasa components in various compositions and ragams,
True.
and that is how we learned them ourselves.
Mm,
Though the gurus were there,
mm,
a lot of work was done in my search for a pleasing Shankarabharanam. I did listen to the various artists, recordings where our gurus. We
mm,
listened to radio, we listened to live concerts, we listened to. I had about 1,500 cassettes with me when I learned way back in the 90s.
mm,
And but here our demands are different. A very small number of children reach to that stage of concept presentation, and more than that, taking it up as a profession.
yeah.
So we are used to small snippets of these presentations, maybe like in Arangetrams or small
Mm,
other performances that happen around the child's musical life.
mm,
And so that is where we train them by playing the ragam a few hundred times. I'm
right.
having an Arangetram of my disciple in July. I have not notated the alapana for him, but we kept a target of playing this ragam about 500 times before the Arangetram.
Wow.
We stand at about 300 times now. We have completed about 300 times, and he is able to give an alapana for about 6 to 7 minutes. I think that is enough for considering it as an Arangetram, where the listeners, the audiences know that it's an Arangetram.
Yeah.
I said, let us write and
Mm,
count the number of times we play Kalyani in the class,
mm,
which is the main program. So
mm,
we hope to reach 500 by July. We are in the mid 300s now. So, and he is able to present a good Alapana of Kalyani, which is his main piece, Nijadasa Varada.
oh,
So, and every student's capacity is different. Every student's hunger is different. Not all really are patient enough to take this bulk of teaching, the bulk
yeah.
of material,
Mm,
but they want something small. I'm just playing a 6-minute recital. I want to
mm,
play one song. what can I play? So yes, play this ragam for 30 seconds, play this ragam for 40 seconds. It is notated. It is written. This is the running phrase, a short Hamsadhani for about a minute or so.
Mm.
They keep that in mind. Those are the only 5 phrases that are there in the mind for that 60 seconds, and they present that income. And so the work goes on what the demand is. And every student should be taught differently. You cannot have one method of teaching and cater the same thing to 20 people.
Sure.
And every student's capacity is different, skill is different, handling of the instrument, the speeds in the fingering that they are comfortable at is different. And that's how we continue our teaching careers here.
Amazing. It's so nice to hear from both Dr. Ramprasad and Balu, because you're not only professional musicians, but also, besides being practitioners, you're, teachers, you're gurus as well. And especially our younger audience who would be watching our panel discussion would have so much to take, because when we listen to a raga, especially from a personal point of view, I would say I love the intonations. I love the oscillations in a raga, and the kind of blissfulness it evokes in me. But I'm sure there is a lot of hard work, there's a lot of practice, and there's a lot of grooming. There is a lot of patience that goes into, in order to get the right kind of flavor to express the bhavam of the raga that you're playing or you're performing, right? So that's very, very, very insightful, and thank you so much. We now move on to Sujata for the next question. The very presence of Indian music professionals, both, I wouldn't say it's just the Indian professionals, both the Indian and non-Indian origin over the years, they have taken the Indian music, as a passion to learn, study, or appreciate. Now, this particularly certifies the global impact of this rich tradition, and these people have been instrumental in conveying the important message to many music communities across the globe, the importance of the Indian ragas through the Indian classical forms that represent the Indian classical forms. Now, as a senior executive from the music industry, how do you see the impact of marketing of these Indian ragas, particularly with the pop music amongst the current young generation of music professionals? I know there is a lot of amalgamation or a collaboration with Indian ragas, between the Indian ragas and pop music. So how is the scenario, particularly in the US, Sujata? I'm eager to know.
Well, it's interesting. Just recently, we had the Coachella Music Festival, and that is one of the biggest music festivals in the United States. People come from all over. And in its 22-year history, the first Indian artist or South Asian artist to perform, that was 4 or 5 years ago. This year, we had 6 at the festival.
Wow.
And it covered everyone from Ali Sethi to Diljit Singh, Jay Paul, Jay Wolf, Charlie XCX, all artists that are of South Asian descent. Now, some of them took, classical Indian ghazals and sort of merged it with pop music, R&B, rap, hip hop, and they kind of created their own version. But again, it's all comes back to the fabric. They all, grew up with Indian music, and it's in you, but it just takes a different form, and expression. And I think that's a little bit of what is art. Art you take and you make it what you are creating, and it becomes your art. But there's always the thread of the Indian, the original fabric is always there, and it's just something that you interpret and you continue on. The other thing is bringing it again to a bigger audience. At Coachella, there's hundreds of thousands of kids from all over, and these kids don't have, Indian background. And now suddenly they're like, what is this that we're listening to? And they have the exposure. It's like, oh, it's an Indian artist. Where is India? And they start researching, and then they discover all the great things that the country has to offer.
Brilliant, isn't it? I mean, even though they are trying to create a new music, I mean, they have their roots, which is the Indian classical music, and out of that, an amalgamation of cultures through music, different music cultures and genre of music. They try to retain the classical aspect of Indian music, and at the same time, try to create a new piece, which is new and which is what they want to create, and that's, I'm sure, is equally interesting to hear. Thank you, Sujata.
Mhm.
We now move on to Lakshmi. Lakshmi, I know you mentioned about your research, and particularly in the ragas, the holistic aspect of ragas. What do you think, what more further can be done to reflect this important healing benefits of Indian ragas in different settings, particularly in a health setting? I know you didn't give a brief example about, I think it was a pediatric ward, children, a cohort of children who had experienced this healing aspect. What more do you think can be done in this field so that one can really be able to appreciate the holistic side of the Indian ragas?
Before going into this, I would just like to briefly give the very importance of the rasa theory, which our Indian music really reiterates again and again, and encourages everyone to really incorporate as a part of their music. So a simple thing is, like, when a musician performs, and if he just sticks to the grammatical and the technical aspects of the music, it might actually fulfill all the intellectual aspects of the listeners, but it doesn't go on to touch the heart, probably because there is no proper aesthetic value that's imparted here. Probably he is not giving enough importance to the manodharma, as it was very clearly illustrated to us by Ram Prasad ji and Raghuraman ji. And probably he is not able to incorporate all the very beautiful embellishments in the form of alankaras. We have gamakas, we have in Hindustani music, we have zamzam, murki, all these kind of ornamentations, which the Indian music has really spoiled us with, to embellish it in the best possible manner. These things go a long way in order to get the best out of any raga when it is being put forth the audience. So this just got me to one more important point here about the when we incorporate manodharma and when we incorporate this embellishments in a performance, it automatically heightens the therapeutic effect of the raga as well. What it is supposed to actually deliver to the audience on the plate. It really, as I mentioned, touches the heart of the listeners, and it leaves a long lasting impact. So even if your manodharma presentation has been short or of a very brief kind, but it leaves a long lasting imprint in the listener. When he goes back home, it always stays in his mind. And this is the very importance of rasas when it has been added. So there are two phenomenon here which I would like to mention. So one is like the identification phenomenon, wherein if suppose a person is in a very sad or a somber state, and he hears a rag, a very happy rag with for example Whoop or Bilawal. So such kind of rags, it really peps him up immediately, and it transforms him immediately from a sad state to a happy state. This is one way how the music therapy works its healing properties. Another one is something called as identification, wherein a person is in a very sad state again, and he listens to any rag which has all flat notes, or komal swar, like for example Lalit or Rag Bhairav, etc. So what happens is the inner sad state, it identifies with the outer emotion of the rag, which is phenomenally sad, and it creates an outlet for this person to express his sadness. Either it acts as an outlet for welling up or crying. It acts as an exhaustion pipe, and relieves him to a great extent. So these two phenomena, identification and transformation, these are the two phenomena through which ragas, they really help in imparting the therapeutic effects. Now, there, as I just mentioned few minutes ago, there have been a lot of few studies which India is really prepping up as far as advancing research in this particular area is concerned. Because whenever we apply any kind of a therapy, it always needs to be backed up by science. There need to be a scientific evidence to it. And as I mentioned, there was one study by the National Brain Research Center, wherein out of 122 participants, they tried to, first get a baseline emotion of happiness in them by making them watching a cartoon. And then after that, they exposed or subjected them to 12 ragas. Now, look at the beauty here. It is not just the raga. They tried to see the emotional responses of these participants by presenting the raga in different modes. So here it was first having an alap, like which is a very slow, free-flowing, introductory arithmetic part. And then after that, there was gat, like, which was more fast and rhythmic in nature. And what they saw was a gamut of emotional responses. If a person was initially very calm during the alap part of the music, when it went on to a faster rhythmic mode, the person became happy, the spirits heightened. Similarly, when it was a sad a rag which emoted a sad kind of a feeling, initially he was a little sad, and then when the rhythm tempo changed, the rhythm changed, the tonality changed, the lyrics and the phrases changed, it heightened his this one and made him more anxious, and gave that kind of a heightened emotional response. So music therapy is not just a sphere wherein it's just the raga and the kind of the what do you say, the emotions that it kind of imparts or induces. It doesn't just act like an emotional stimuli. There are so many more parameters to it, like the tempo, the rhythm, the tonality, the lyrics, pitch. All these things play a very important role, and that's why acoustics is something that's really catching up a lot of importance, especially in the Western counterpart. India is still fastening up its pace as far as research in this area is concerned. But to see such kind of a research by the National Brain Research Center, on a very small cohort of people, it's really looks like a hope, wherein we can really catch up with such kind of studies and expand it also on a larger scale, so that we can just get the best out of music as far as its therapy is concerned.
Brilliant.
But a long way to go, but still I think we have started our journey towards it.
Brilliant. I mean, that is such valuable information, Lakshmi. Thank you so much. With this, we come to the end of this panel discussion. I know this is, as I mentioned at the start, this is a very exhaustive topic, and one cannot do justice to just zero down or limit it to a particular time frame. Nevertheless, it was really interesting to hear all your perspectives, and I look forward to seeing you all either in person or in another time in person or in a virtual mode. Thank you all so much. And I hope you would all be able to join us in the virtual celebrations of the Birmingham Thyagaraja Festival. Thank you again. Namaskaram. Thank you all for your valuable time.